In honor of March Madness going on and in honor of the Sweet 16, which is currently going on this weekend, I decided to have a little fun, and I thought long and hard about my favorite 16 albums. So my Sweet 16 of albums. And I decided to break them down into 4 separate groups, bracket style. So each group has a 1 seed, a 2 seed, a 3 seed, and a 4 seed. So obviously there's 4 1 seeds, 4 2 seeds, 4 3 seeds, and 4 4 seeds. Now, I had to figure out a way to make this not so boring because certainly I could rank those 16 albums in order, 1 through 16, my favorite to least favorite of the 16. But I wanted to have a little bit more fun and have albums go up against each other, bracket style. So in order to figure out a way to seed the albums, I decided to look at each album and see how many singles were released from that album. So the more singles released from the album, the better opportunity that album had for a higher seed. So that gave me a way to rank all 16 albums in an unbiased way and allowed me to put the matchups together where I can look at each album head to head and decide between the 2 in each matchup which one is my favorite. Now, as I was starting to look up how many singles were released from each album, I started to realize that some of the albums had the exact same number of singles released, and I was worried that was going to affect how I would do my seedings. However, the only issue that came into play was that there was 5 albums that had 3 singles released. So I had to figure out a way to separate those albums. So what I did was I just ranked them in order of which album was released first. So with those 5 different albums that released 3 singles, the way that came into play was that some of them needed to be 3 seeds and some of them needed to be 4 seeds. And it just so happened that I needed 2 of them to be 3 seeds and 3 of them to be 4 seeds. So the 2 albums that were released the earliest were the 2 that got bumped up into the 3 seed group. And then those 3 that were released later bumped down to 4 seeds. So without further ado, let's get into the 4 number 1 seeds. The number 1 overall seed was Janet Jackson's album, Janet, with 9 singles released. Next was Michael Jackson Thriller with 7 singles, and SWV, It's About Time, also with 7 singles. And then the last number 1 seed was Boyz II Men, Cooley High Harmony, which had 6 singles released. The number 2 seeds all had 5 singles released, and they are as follows: Nas, Illmatic, Bobby Brown, Don't Be Cruel, Prince, Purple Rain, and Jodeci, Forever My Lady. The 3 seeds, with 4 singles released: D'Angelo, Brown Sugar, Jagged Edge, J.E. Heartbreak, and then with 3 singles released: Outkast, Southern Playlistic Cadillac Music, and A Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders. And then the 4 seeds, in which 3 of them have 3 singles released, were the Above the Rim soundtrack, Outkast, Aquemini, and Jodeci, The Show, The After Party, The Hotel. And the last of the 4 seeds, with 2 singles released, was Donell Jones' album, Where I Want to Be. All right, so let's get to the fun part and dive into the matchups. Let's start with number 1 seed, Janet Jackson, her album called Janet, versus 4 seed, Donell Jones, Where I Want to Be. I am going to take Donell Jones, Where I Want to Be. I would say the best of the Janet album is better than the best of Where I Want to Be album, but for me, you can put on Where I Want to Be, hit play, and just listen to the whole album. So that is why I will take Donell Jones, Where I Want to Be, 4 seed over number 1 seed, Janet Jackson, Janet, in a Sweet 16 upset. All right, next game. Nas, Illmatic versus the Above the Rim soundtrack. This is a really, really tough one. Kind of like the Donell Jones Where I Want to Be album with Illmatic. You can just hit play and let the whole album play through. Above the Rim is close to that. There might be a song or two I would skip, but overall still has more tracks that I enjoy. So I will go with another upset, number 3 seed Above the Rim soundtrack over number 2 seed Illmatic. Next matchup, 1 seed Boyz II Men, Cooley High Harmony. This was, I believe, the first ever CD I actually owned, versus one of the most classic hip-hop albums of all time, Outkast Aquemini. For me, this is another upset victory. Outkast Aquemini, 4 seed over number 1 seed Boyz II Men, Cooley High Harmony. Next matchup, 2 seed Jodeci, Forever My Lady. This is their first album versus number 3 seed A Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders. Some would probably argue that Midnight Marauders is not even A Tribe Called Quest's best album. However, for me, it's my favorite, and that's what I'm going with. But I do not like it enough to give it a victory over Jodeci, Forever My Lady. So 2 seed Forever My Lady advances over 3 seed A Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders. All right, let's get into another 1 seed versus 4 seed matchup. 1 seed Michael Jackson Thriller versus Jodeci, The Show, The After Party, The Hotel. One thing I don't like about The Show, The After Party, The Hotel is between every single track there's a skit, which for me is an automatic skip. I skip the skit, and that's pretty annoying. But I will say I do like every single song on this album, and despite Michael Jackson's Thriller being arguably one of the best albums of all time, and despite Michael Jackson being one of my favorite artists of all time, for me personally, if I had to listen to one album over and over and over for the rest of my life, I'm going with the upset. Jodeci, The Show, The After Party, The Hotel at the 4 seed over Michael Jackson Thriller, the 1 seed. Next matchup, number 2 seed Bobby Brown, Don't Be Cruel against number 3 seed Jagged Edge, J.E. Heartbreak. This is a tough one, kind of looking at 2 different eras of R&B. Bobby Brown's album had a nice mix of slow jams with some New Jack Swing, but for me, Jagged Edge, J.E. Heartbreak, one of those albums again that you can just hit play and listen to it all the way through. So I'm going with Jagged Edge, J.E. Heartbreak, 3 seed over Bobby Brown, Don't Be Cruel, the 2 seed. All right, and then we've got SWV, It's About Time, seeded number 1 against 4 seed Outkast, Southern Playlist at Cadillac Music. SWV, one of my all-time favorite R&B groups. However, Outkast wins. Southern Playlist at Cadillac Music upsets the 1 seed SWV, It's About Time. And that brings us to our last matchup. Another tough one here. 2 seeded Prince, Purple Rain versus 3 seed D'Angelo, Brown Sugar. Kind of like Michael Jackson, Prince, one of my all-time favorite artists. But if we're looking at the album, this also kind of reminds me of the Janet versus Donell Jones album, where the best of the Prince album are probably better than the best of the Brown Sugar album. But when you look from beginning to end, the way I judge it is, do I got to skip a bunch of tracks? I pop in D'Angelo, Brown Sugar, I hit play, and I let it go all the way through, whereas I cannot say the same for Purple Rain. So we're going D'Angelo, 3 seed over Prince, Purple Rain, the 2 seed. And so we have our Elite 8 set. Donell Jones, Where I Want to Be, against Above the Rim soundtrack. One of those 2 will be headed to the Final 4. Also, a Final 4 spot will go to Outkast Aquemini or Jodeci, Forever My Lady. Jodeci, The Show, The After Party, The Hotel, also in the Elite 8, will be taking on Jagged Edge, J.E. Heartbreak. And then the last Final 4 spot will go to either Outkast, Southern Playlist at Cadillac Music, or D'Angelo, Brown Sugar. All right, so Elite 8 matchups. We've got number 4 seed Donell Jones, Where I Want to Be, against number 3 seed Above the Rim soundtrack. Congratulations, Donell Jones. Your album, Where I Want to Be, is headed to my Final 4 to take on the winner of Outkast Aquemini or Jodeci, Forever My Lady. Again, Outkast, Aquemini, one of the best hip-hop albums of all time, and I'm taking it to advance over Jodeci, Forever My Lady. So Final Four spot number 2 goes to Outkast, Aquemini. Next, we have a matchup of 2 great R&B albums, Jodeci, The Show, The After Party, The Hotel, against Jagged Edge, J.E. Heartbreak. Jodeci, The Show, The After Party, The Hotel, one of my favorite R&B albums of all time, and it's going to get the spot in the Final Four over 3-seed Jagged Edge, J.E. Heartbreak. And in the last Elite 8 matchup, we've got 4-seeded Outkast, Southern Playlist of Cadillac Music against 3-seed D'Angelo, Brown Sugar. And this is quite interesting because both of these albums are put them in hit play, listen all the way through albums. But they're slightly different genres. Outkast is hip-hop, D'Angelo is R&B. And if I had to take one album to listen to over and over for the rest of my life, I would choose an R&B album over a hip-hop album. So, D'Angelo, Brown Sugar, welcome to the Final Four. So, the Final Four is set. We've got Donnell Jones, Where I Want to Be, taking on Outkast, Aquemini. Donnell Jones, Where I Want to Be, a 4-seed, and Outkast, Aquemini, also a 4-seed. And then on the other side, we've got 4-seed Jodeci, The Show, The After Party, The Hotel, taking on 3-seed D'Angelo, Brown Sugar. Stay tuned for the next video where we will complete the tournament and pick a champion. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. Also, like this video and please comment on this video. I would love to hear what your Final Four albums of all time would be. And then also feel free to share the video, and I will see you on the next one where we crown a champion.